Hey guys, in this video I'm going to give you a preview of the Harpy Pro Guide. This is a guide I've been working on for a very long time, and it's going to be released sometime in September, should everything go well. I've got all the footage I need for the most part. I just need to make the tactics lecture and post all the pages up on the website. So hopefully sometime mid-September. In this fight here, I was in nullsec. I was Syndicate. PF is the entrance system. I always advise people go to the entrance systems because that's where typically the most fights are. I warped down to gate from a tactical and engaged this hawk. As far as I knew, I would only be fighting this hawk. This is an ASB Harpy, so it does match with the ASB Pro Guide, and I'll be posting the fit in the comments area below this video. But you can see I'm doing okay against the Harpy, against the hawk. But if you watch here, he hasn't engaged yet, so he hasn't aggroed. He can still jump through the gate. Now he's engaged. He's neutered me. And now I see a bunch of other stuff coming in. You can see Tyrannus, Jaguar, Hawk, Saber. That's a lot of stuff. I don't think I can tank all that. The Harpy can tank like crazy. But I don't know if it can tank all that. And here you see the big problem. If you look, there's a newt. The Hawk is now neuting me. What I've found is that most Hawks have newts. And that's been a problem several times. So you watch my capacitor. And the problem with the newt isn't my ASB. The ASB runs without capacitor. The problem is my guns mostly. You see my guns have turned off. If I have no DPS output, I can't kill this guy. I've still got rockets, and rockets will slowly work on him, but it's probably not enough to kill him. So luckily, I'm able to get a cycle of guns in right there, and boom. Now I've got no newt on me, so I've killed the hawk. Let's move on to the Tyrannus. It's the next most soft target on the field. Tyrannuses usually don't have a whole lot of hit points, but they do a good bit of DPS. So now that I've got my cat back, I can turn the invul back on, I can get those guns working. Harpy does crazy amounts of DPS. It's an awesome frigate. Killed the Tyrannus. Now, I'm going to go crazy and see if I can kill this Saber. This Saber is a lot of DPS and a very valuable ship. So far I've already killed about 60 million ISK. If I kill this, it's about 120 million ISK just for one Harpy, which is pretty awesome. But I didn't quite do it. I got him in low shields. Had I got past his shields, he would have just dropped like a rock. He'd have been gone. And I would have gotten a pretty sweet kill there. But I'm aggroed, I'm bubbled, I'm going to get potted. Luckily, when I fly the Hawk through nullsec, I do not use implants, or the implants I use are very cheap, just like the 3% to DPS output. So this video is in the same system, I'm pretty sure, PF, and I decide to take on a MOA with the Harpy. Yes, PF. So there's a MOA sitting on the edge of a bubble. He's camping a drag bubble on the high sec gate. This gate goes to Orville, which is high sec from Syndicate nullsec. So I warp down to the gate, and I'm kind of just wanting to get an eye on this guy and get a little bit closer and see how he reacts to me. I noticed local is relatively empty. There's only 5 of us. Most of those are AFK. This system always has people in it, even though there's no station. It's a strange system. And he's isolated himself on this bubble, so even if somebody were to jump in from high sec, they're going to be, what, 50k away. It gives me time. So he's isolated himself, and he wants to fight. So he started fighting me. I jump right on him. And you see my DPS output's a little bit slow at first. I mean, he's only at an 85% shield. Really, my focus here is to orbit at 500 so I can avoid as much of his tracking as possible. You can see, I'm trying to see what guns he has. Heavy ion blasters. Okay, so he's got heavy ion blasters, and they're missing the majority of the time. The only thing that's hitting me is his drones. I could go for the drones and kill those, but the fact is that I can tank drones all day in the Harpy because it's got such an awesome tank. As long as I can avoid his gun damage and gun tracking, then this is an easy fight. I will just absolutely own this MOA. It's just a matter of time. You can see I'm overloading my invul. I got in the habit of when I was flying the Harpy to almost always overload my invul because very few fights lasted long enough to where I would have to turn it off. This is one where I'm probably going to have to turn it off. You see, I wait as long as possible to actually run my ASB, because part of it's bait tanking and part of it is just trying to get the most of everything I've got. And you see somebody just bombed us, which isn't a problem for me. I'm so small the bomb's not going to make much difference, but it will hurt him and hopefully kill his drones. It didn't kill his drones, but that would have been pretty sweet had it killed his drones. And like I was saying, there's people in this system all the time. I guess they just sit there cloaked in bombers and wait for opportunities. I don't know. You can see my heat. I'm managing my heat. My mid-slot heat rack is pretty high. My high-slot heat rack is pretty high. I'm watching that. I could go further, but I realize I've got this guy. Nothing else is coming in. So this is sealed deal. There's nothing he can do here. Just trying to conserve my cap or my ASB charges. And see, now I've ran out, but I've got a pretty high amount of shield. And he's dead. So it was just enough to get me through that fight. And what the problem was in that one was that there was just a ton of hit points. In this next video, I am going to take on a caracal. Now this was in Providence. And Providence is the type of place where if you go in there and you're red to them, which I am very red to them because I've been farming them for years. But if you go into Providence and you show up on their intel, they very quickly form up fleets and come chasing you, which is a good thing in some cases and a bad thing in others. I highly recommend Providence if you want to try nullsec out and you want to kill some soft targets. There's a lot of people in Providence that really don't know what they're doing. So, anyways, in this video, I was sitting here off a gate. I was in a dead-end pocket here. They use this pocket a lot for ratting and mining. And I want to kill the caracal. Now, the caracal could have rapid lights, which is very bad for me. But I've got an awesome tank. I'm pretty confident in this Harpy. I see all these Vexors on scan. Look at all those Vexors. There's like 20 Vexors on scan. You know, what the heck is up with that? Plus, I see all these guys in local necks and then a different name. So evidently, this is the new like craze and EVE Online, is people buy like 20 accounts, 10 accounts, whatever, and you'll see people and they'll fly just entire gangs by themselves. And CCP needs to fix this. This is complete BS that someone can run 6 characters at the same exact time as if they were one. And I know CCP wants the subscription funds, the plexes, they want the extra accounts, but that's just ridiculous. So here, I'm worried about those Vexors. I mean, one Vexor is a problem for me because drones are just death for frigates, especially bonus drones. So much less 10, 20 Vexors is a really bad thing. So I'm worried this guy's bait for the Vexors. So I go in, I engage. What I did is I saw he was off the gate, roughly about 50, 70 in a direction of something, so I warped to that thing and then came back. He didn't expect me to land on him. I don't think this guy really wanted this fight. So what I did is I just warped to something behind him and came back at range so I'd land right on top of him. And shockingly, he drops really fast. I mean, compare this to the MOA that I fought before. And the MOA had a lot of hit points I had to grind through. Most likely he was a buffer fit. This guy, I don't know what he had. It looks like he had a little shield booster, but it wasn't an ASB. It might have been a small shield booster at that. And here come the Vexors. Now that is just, at this point, I want that guy dead, and I want to get the heck out of here. So you have selected that belt, and I am getting the heck out of there. I do not want to play with Vexors. And there's Omen Navy issue that's about to tackle me. He should have tackled me. He was 20k away. Almost every Omen Navy issue carries a Tech 2 long point. He should have been able to tackle me. In this video, I set up a Flycatcher. I was back in Syndicate PFFD area, and this goon Flycatcher was sitting on the gate. Now, I can kill a Flycatcher without much trouble, but I knew that he had friends. So I jumped through the gate, and what I do is I charge back at the gate. I'm feeling him out. I know I can jump back through this gate. But I wanted to see what he would do. I wanted to see what kind of DPS output he had, and I wanted to see if he had friends. Either that or I already knew he had friends. And I think I knew he had friends close by, but I didn't know if they would come to him this quick. So we know there's a crow right there. That's handleable. I can take a Flycatcher and a Crow. The Crow is just going to kite me, and eventually I'll de-aggro and jump away from him. And over here I see a Fed Navy Comet. That's okay. I can take that too. I'm pretty sure I just took some drugs right there. Always a good thing to take your drugs with your ASB, especially, if you think you're going to get a fight, go ahead and take them before the fight. Right now, I'm waiting. I'm hoping that that his friends will come and aggro me on gate, or somehow I can isolate them. You see, there's the Crow, and there's a Thorax I've been watching on scan. So I don't want to fight the Crow, Thorax, and Flycatcher at the same time. I want to get that Flycatcher on one side of the gate by himself. I start seeing that with the Thorax and Crow, it's a little bit too much, so I warp to a tactical. And I want to make them feel like I almost got away. So if they feel like they've lost me once, they'll be a little bit more aggressive on the second go-round, is what I'm hoping. Okay, so in this case, it looks like they've actually left the gate. The Crow is warped to the other gate on the other side. So I warp down to the gate and jump through. Now what I'm expecting on the other side is a Thorax and a Flycatcher. What I find is just a Flycatcher. So this is perfect for me. I know he has nothing like really close. The Thorax is on scan over here. He could come back, but if he's already away, that means he's probably in warp to something. I've got a little bit of time alone, me and this Flycatcher. And like I've told you before, I love killing interdictors. They're expensive ships, and they're not all that tanky. They're usually a really good ship to kill if you have the opportunity to isolate them. So I've got him all by himself. He's a Flycatcher. I'm a Harpy. Overloading my guns. Like I've told you before, overload the guns from the beginning. You can't use heat when you're dead. So use it from the start. You see, I'm not using my ASBs because I don't need them. And now I go for the pod because he's bubbled himself, which is awesome, dude. Thank you. And he's even saying in local, why did I bubble? And I'm pretty sure, if I remember right, that he had something in his pod. So I'm probably going to pull up the character sheet here in a second, and I'll show you what he had in his pod. And I burn out of the bubble. You don't ever want to just hang around in a bubble, especially if you're aggroed. Be very, very aware of your aggro timer. Your aggro timer will get you killed if you're not careful. Alright, now eventually I'm going to open the character sheet. There we go. So, we got the Flycatcher. That's a little bit over 50 mil. Okay, so the pod wasn't worth all that much. But a pretty sweet 50 mil kill in the Harpy. Good fun.